Dark Satellite Media.
Hey.
What up?
Shout out from the quarantine. Episode 53 of Red River Podcast out in Brooklyn today. Finally get to sit down with our buddy Chris Enriquez.
Is this microphone sanitized?
Yes. Yeah,
Yeah, we wiped down everything.
yeah. Well, yeah, for sure.
Who's the last guy?
We had one of the guys downstairs squeegee it by the bridge.
Sick.
Jeff was last on that, I think. He was on one of those boat cruises.
Oh, yeah.
He didn't feel well when he came back.
That is pretty true, actually.
From Black Label Society?
Yeah.
Nice.
So yeah, man, we just wanted to sit down with you and just kind of so I'm a big music guy. Langen's a big music guy,
Right.
and we love to just talk shop. We love to just kind of like sit and hang out and talk pure minutia. So you got a lot of cool things going on, and just wanted to touch base with some of those things.
Nice. I do that all day long. I talk fucking music
Yeah,
and
that's
fucking nonsense.
Oh well,
It's called useless information is what me and my friends call
You're in the
call
right
this.
place.
yeah,
Yes.
you're in the right place.
Great.
Exactly. This Google does not exist here. That's
No.
what I want to just throw it out there.
I have very little information of value stored in
Yeah,
my
right.
head.
Like zero.
It
I don't have room
keep-
for it.
keeps me excited while I'm quarantined in my own apartment.
Yeah,
You know,
no
just
doubt.
to know about why a guitar player from fucking Queens plays a certain style that I still listen to.
Sure, man. I get it.
I got a text from my buddy the other day, and he asked me what the name of this movie was, this horror movie that I posted about recently, and I was like, I know exactly what he's talking about. I sent it back to him. He's like, I knew you would know, and in my head I'm thinking like,
Yeah.
that's right, of course I would know.
I'm that guy too in the circle. Like, you probably know this.
Yeah.
Right
You guys
there.
talk a lot about horror movies. That's kind of a basis, right? In a way, or is
But-
it just or is it lists?
A lot of horror. We've done a lot of horror.
We've done a lot of
definitely.
horror stuff, but I mean, it's just about really everything.
A lot of stuff we came up with, you know. Especially like I know for me, like being into metal and horror just went hand in hand as a youth, you know.
Very lifestyle is what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was like hand in hand for sure. Like, you know, like you, especially in the 80s.
Yeah, because every horror movie had like Wasp was going to do the song for that.
Yeah.
Dawkins did this.
Right. Was it, who was Wasp or
Wasp
George
did the
Lynch.
Ghoulies song.
No, it was
Scream
you're
Till
thinking
You
about
Like
Dream
It.
Warriors?
Thinking about yes,
Yeah.
that was
Nightmare on Elm Street
Nightmare on
3.
Elm Street, where they're like
Yep.
Dream
Freddy
Warriors.
Krueger is walking around and they're playing in
Yeah.
the house.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he
You
comes
know.
out of the wall, grabs George Lynch during a solo,
Yeah.
drags him away. to
I actually
hell.
have a George Lynch story if you want.
Yeah.
To
I would love to. I'm a big fan,
you,
man.
You came to the right place.
Oh, yes.
Well, I know his daughter. I met his daughter. I have to be careful what I say, but she's this gorgeous girl that lives in LA, and she's kind of like in the music scene or whatever.
Mhm.
But so I go out to LA a lot for music, mainly because of my day job at Revolver. So I go to this thing called NAMM, which is like kind
Yeah,
of
tell everyone what it is.
NAMM is the the National Association of Music Manufacturers. I think I said that right. So if you play anything, if you're a DJ or if you're a rock musician, put it this way: like if you're Duff McKagan or Stevie Wonder and your sponsors have been giving you free shit for your whole career, they probably go, "We just need you to do one thing every year and show up at this place, sign some autographs, take some pictures,
Oh, that's
and
cool,
hang out
yeah.
with people." So like
Right.
you go to this thing and you kind of like walk around and see all these random people. And if you're a musician like we are, the goal is like, oh, maybe I could network and get a sponsorship. It never works that way, but people pay this money to go do that, and they just try out new shit too, which is cool. So
I mean, everything's a network, really.
Sure. Yeah.
You got to enter the matrix.
Well, I was hanging out one day, and it's not abnormal to see like, you know, David Coverdale walking around because you're in Anaheim, not too far from LA, and you see all these guys.
Shout out to Tony Katana.
Yeah, like all the like Carmen Appice.
Yeah.
You'll see these guys just randomly walking around. And I was in a hotel talking to a friend that worked at ESP, and I swear to God, fucking out of nowhere, George Lynch shows up. It was
shirt
like
or no shirt?
Like, well, that's where I'm going with this. It's almost like you know, like made up, but it's not. Like he showed up. What's the way that they say it? Like you couldn't have written it better. He showed up with a guitar strapped behind his back, not in a case.
Oh.
He's probably doing a demo or something with a button up, but like kind of halfway button up, so he had a chest, kind of just almost like a guy
style.
in front of a novel.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Fabio.
Just like asking this guy that I was with like some simple question, like what time does this party start? But I'm like, did that just happen? He's like, what, George? I'm like, no, like with the guitar and the outfit. He's like, yeah, that definitely happened. I'm like, yeah, I just needed to verify that because that's ridiculous.
How many NAMMs have you been to?
Since 2014, 6. So a lot.
Wait, since what?
2014, once
so
a
every
year.
year
so it's
you're
2014.
going,
yeah.
Okay, yeah. So by now you're kind of like used to some things, but I guess something like that still.
I hate going. It's not even fun anymore. I'm at that point now. It's like,
I've had enough of this.
Even though, because it's just
been there, done that.
What does Revolver do there?
We used to hang out there and give out magazines because we were part of the Guitar World and Bass Player Magazine Network, which
I didn't know that.
We're not anymore. But so like if you wanted to see who was on the front cover of Guitar World or just pick up an issue of Revolver or Bass Player, we had a booth set up where people could come check shit out. But we mainly would go there to talk to advertisers.
Right.
Be like, oh, what do you have coming up now? It's a new guitar pedal. Let's talk about like who's using it. Zach Wild's using it. Cool. Like, let's do a giveaway.
Yo, shout out to Pinch Harmonics.
Word up.
Yeah. Oh, Pinch Harmonics. I never knew how to do Pinch Harmonics.
I still don't. I only do it by mistake. I'm like, oh shit.
That's what I call happy accidents.
You basically are there for like the last 6 years. What's like the most, like, I guess, tedious part of the trip? Because to me, like for people like us that don't travel to something like that, it sounds like a kind of like a good time. It
is and it isn't. I mean, like
it's still work, I guess.
But it's work. Yeah,
it's work. But like, how would I explain it? When you're actually working the thing, you have to. It's like the best way to put it. It's Guitar Center times 100,000.
Say no more.
In a gigantic fucking conference room. So like, I'm not exaggerating.
No, you just ruined it for me.
The entire room, not just guitar. You're probably dealing with. Somewhere in the vicinity of 1,000 guitar players playing at the same time. 1,000 bass players, people playing keyboards, people playing trumpets, hundreds of people playing drums, and you're having business meetings talking about budgets, and you're like, "Hey, yeah, that's really cool. So what's that all about?" And it's just fucking all day long, all day.
Then you hear like that Phil Collins drum fill in between. And you're just like, "What the fuck is going on?"
But then you'll like turn around. I'm not even. You'll turn around and be like, "Oh, there's Green Day walking by Steve Harvey. There's Sinbad in a wheelchair, and there's fucking fucking half of Deftones walking around." It's just like it's a weird place.
Sure.
That's a good band name. Sinbad in a wheelchair.
I saw him in a wheelchair 2 years in a row. I don't know why he was in a wheelchair, but he was there last month in a wheelchair, and he was there the year before in a wheelchair.
He's probably all right. It's probably just some pimp shit. It's like, I ain't walking around here. You're going to wheel me around this show.
It's like, you got a cane? It's like, nah, we got a wheelchair. It's like, I'll take it.
Yeah.
Like, you all right? Yeah. I just don't want to walk anymore. I'm over it.
You know what? When you get to a certain age, maybe you are kind of like over walking. You're just like, I don't want to walk anymore.
You probably have so many steps you can take in a lifetime, and you're like, I'm going to hold on to some.
I'm going
to take it easy for 5 years, so when I'm 80, I'm going to get around easy.
Then I can walk again.
I didn't mean to pivot, by the way. We were talking about horror movies.
Oh, no. Yeah, that's fine. Because
that's exactly what this show is, though. We talk about George Lynch and end up with Sinbad.
Yeah. In a wheelchair.
Somebody's got to bring back the movie video, like Total Recall, Terminator 2 vibe, where there's a band playing and then there's randomly a scene from a movie or a character walking around. No one does that anymore.
Yes.
Deadpool did that with Guns N' Roses. Clint Eastwood.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
that was 1989.
They were in that.
Jim Carrey played the junkie that OD'd, and Guns N' Roses played in the background because that was like one of the times. So you figure that was 89. So it was a couple of years after Appetite, and you don't really have access to this shit. I was like 11, but that was like a really groundbreaking record for me.
Same.
And sometimes you hear shit and you're like, oh, what is that? How do I get that? I want to listen to that, but you don't know.
Wait, so your first exposure to guns was the Eastwood movie?
Probably not.
Oh.
But like, for example, I remember the movie Shakedown. That was 1988. That was Sam Elliott and Peter Weller. And the commercial had Purple Haze. So I'm 10, and like my parents listen to shitty music. I don't know what your parents listen to. You're probably
big band.
Jerry and the Pacemakers.
We had some pretty cool stuff.
Did you?
Well, I mean,
Bing
also
Crosby.
this is funny because it's a Long Island thing, but like
Billy Joel, how dare you?
Yes, my first memories of like hearing anything exciting were I think it was Uptown Girl by Billy Joel.
Okay, that is very
just
long.
Billy Joel in general. I was on the North Shore. But Guns N' Roses were life changing. I like got into Guns N' Roses. When did Appetite come out?
87.
Right.
I remember listening to them in my single digits, and I was born in 1980. But I saw them in 1989 in Long Island with Skid Row, and Axl showed up at Nassau Coliseum 2.5 hours late on a helicopter. In a helicopter.
Totally.
Do you imagine how detached from reality you have to be to just do it? Like where was he?
I don't know, but it was between Appetite and it was between Lies and Illusion. So Matt Sorum was on drums, and they played all the like November Rain and all that stuff, but they weren't singles, so we didn't know. Illusion hadn't come out yet.
Sure. Oh,
so we got to see.
So you hear November Rain, you're like, what is this song?
Right.
Yeah.
We heard even I think You Could Be Mine possibly.
Yes, because that was Terminator 2.
Right.
Which is sticking to the theme of what we're talking about.
Yes.
Yeah, we got bringing it back.
Yeah, we're bringing it
Call
right back. Yeah. So Terminator 2, that was like 1991, and You Could Be Mine, because that was like a big deal. It's like, okay, Use Your Illusions are not out. It's not out yet, but we're going to premiere this fucking Guns N' Roses song. And man, right?
Yeah.
Fucking so good.
Yep.
I know you guys might be a little, like, you don't know if you're older than me. I'm 40.
I'm older.
I'm going to be 40 this year.
Oh, would you? This guy,
Young
this
blood.
guy could be your dad.
Well, I know the demo is a lot of fucking Long Island people. So I was going to say, I remember, this kind of shows your age. Like, I remember before Illusion came. Oh, I got Illusion at a flea market in Carl Place at the racetrack by Roosevelt Field Mall. And that's when, like, people fucking sold bootlegs, and it was a big deal.
Yeah.
So, so somebody
You
had,
remember bootleg cassettes?
and movies, but somebody had an advanced copy, like third generation, like dubbed of Use Illusion, and it wasn't out yet. And I remember buying it, and it was a fucking fraud. Like, I got gypped, basically.
Oh, you got gypped, so it wasn't.
It wasn't what I thought. I think it was like a live concert with some songs that they played.
Yeah, and
there was a big bootleg of theirs that floated around. I actually had it on like fucking 7-inch or some shit. It was called Baked on Mess or something else. I had them covering like Mama Kin Live, Moved to the City, a bunch of shit. It was recorded like shit. It might have been
ended up on Lies, I think.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, did you? Did I?
No.
Am I fucking you up?
No worries.
Cool.
This is all interesting stuff to me. I don't know about you guys. I love this shit.
100%.
You got the right guy.
This
100%.
Yeah. I mean, like I told you, we did If I Ruled the World, which was very much autobiographical, and we like talking to people. This is like, this is my thing, though. We like just talking complete nonsense.
One of my favorite things, even like I love watching
like
clips of musicians talking about other musicians that they get into, respect, or what made them and stuff. That shit fascinates me, man. Because it's like the mosaic that makes you, what you produce today. You know what I mean? But, what feeds that.
But also, it's like for people, like our age, and we still play music, except you.
No.
But you listen to enough music to almost cancel that.
I'm waiting for a big comeback.
Well,
I'm keeping in people waiting,
Yeah.
People really calling for me to make a comeback to the scene.
You're DJing though, so that's technically, if anything, in 2020, very much considered.
I know, but drum and bass doesn't really count. No one wants to hear that shit.
I'm like Axel. I'm just gonna like pop up.
Yeah, you're gonna pop up 2.5 hours late to a DJ
in a helicopter.
That's amazing. That's a great. So I saw them once. And that was when it was like just him and 4 other guys.
Right, Buckethead.
Yeah. Oh, was it Bucket? No, Buckethead wasn't in the band. So this was like DJ Ashba.
Yeah.
Frank.
Frank's awesome.
Stinson. And like
Bumblefoot dude in there.
Yeah, Bumblefoot. Yeah. Bumblefoot was there, and
Bumblefoot produced Indecision and Most Precious Blood.
Really?
Yeah, he did Unorthodox.
I did not know
his name is on there. I apologize if I'm mixing that up with, but like he did. I'll look it up right now.
Unorthodox.
He's from, and I asked him that too. Because he's from Brooklyn, and he produced a bunch of bands like that back in the day.
Wow.
But so like people, I mean, I don't know how many Guns N' Roses fans are going out. Again, I'm a master of useless knowledge, but
sure.
This is information that's going to get me nowhere. But yeah,
I got you on the show, man.
Yeah.
If anything.
Yeah. It got you on a show. Like, we left our quarantine to come to your quarantine.
I can't tell you how much I appreciate that. Yeah. Ron Bumblefoot Thal discography, 1998. He co-produced Indecision and Unorthodox and Most Precious Blood.
Jeez.
Well, the album Most Precious
I had
Blood.
no fucking idea.
Pretty crazy.
It is crazy.
Yeah.
It's all about entering the fucking matrix. That's what I always say. Like, if once you get in, and you're good, and people like that's it. You're in.
He did the Shai Hulud Indecision split that came out on Revelation in 1998.
I would never have known that
in a million years,
especially with a name like Bumblefoot.
There you have it.
But so recently you did something cool. I wanted to bring up because I'm a big Ice-T fan.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm a big Sean Winkler fan. Shout out to the Butcher.
The Butcher. He's a Long Island guy, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's my boy.
Yep.
So what was that all about? So Revolver and Sirius did something together?
Yeah, so Ice-T, well, who started this? The label, Century Media Records, that put out Ice-T's Body Count, the new Body Count record, Carnivore, wanted to do a live Q&A session, originally before Sean was involved. So check it out. So Sirius and Pandora are now the same company.
Sirius XM Pandora.
And they wanted LL Cool J to interview him.
What?
And we at Revolver basically we like broadcasting stuff now. That's our thing. Like videos, live videos of bands playing, live videos of anything worthwhile that might be relevant to sort of
music, you guys are a media company,
exactly.
So
Yeah, so but so that didn't work out. Then it was going to be Jose Mangan, and I love Jose, but I'm also really glad Sean got his time to shine, because
hell yeah,
he is one of us. He's from the scene. He's still championing, even like when I saw him, he's wearing a Sanction shirt. Like I think he's still very much in tune with
he will pop up at AMH. He'll pop up everywhere.
Yeah,
he still goes to shows. I love Jose too, but I mean, it's cool to see Sean's
great. Yeah,
get his thing. So
not to get off track, but yeah.
So basically, it was like a Q&A for the record.
It's a Q&A for the record. Sean, it was album release day,
presented by
Revolver, and then Arizona Ice-T.
All right.
So they only served Arizona Ice-T at the event.
Gross.
Sean did the interview. We streamed it online, and then I think it was a Thursday, and the album came out on the Friday.
Did you listen to it?
They were playing it through after the event was over. They played it. Yeah, it's great. I mean, they had collabs. They have fucking Riley from Power Trip, which is really cool.
Really?
Yeah, he sings on a song. If I'm not mistaken, I know they did a couple other ones.
It was the one with a girl. Who was the girl?
It's Amy from Evanescence.
That's what it was. Yeah.
Where Ice actually sings, meaning a note, but
his style is.
Yeah, that's crazy. Cool. Here's a band that put out that record.
Cop Killer.
Yeah, I mean and it just you kind of wrote it off a little bit. Mm-hmm. Like I thought There Goes the Neighborhood. There's some really cool songs on there. And then you listen to like KKK Bitch and like weird random shit like that. Mm-hmm. But still, like Ice-T is legit, like a real legit.
Right.
Like you hear him on
oh my God, he's the godfather of fucking gangster
like
rap.
he fucking is the shit. So to see him like venture out to something, and I think hit Lollapalooza and all that other stuff.
Yeah, I remember seeing him on that first one.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. And there wasn't festivals like that cracking. That had that many different styles of shit going on.
At the time.
It was. And it wasn't even a big deal. I remember like that day, my friend's like, "Yo, you ever hear of this thing? Do you want to go get?" And we just drove to the tobacco store, bought some tickets, and then like, wow, fucking 9 Inch Nails playing Pretty Hate Machine and shit, Ice-T, fucking Rollins Band, Susie, James.
Silence,
I mean, fucking
Rollins,
insane, man.
For sure.
Yeah,
so good.
But that definitely had an influence on him, I think, too. You know what I mean?
No, for sure.
Yeah.
I think he started kicking it with Rollins and stuff like that, and he got real players to do real shit. And it's funny that you take a long ass break. He has his acting job, and he comes back. And like the last like 3 body count records, like I mean, they got nominated for a fucking Oscar. Grammy.
Well, they played the Grammys.
Yeah,
I don't think they played.
Crazy.
I don't remember what song it was. I mean, I'm gonna guarantee you probably wasn't "Talk Shit, Get Shot." But
no,
probably not.
It was for the record after that.
Yeah.
Maybe it was for like the hoodie.
Oh, it was the hoodie. Yeah,
hoodie
yeah,
one,
yeah. Black hoodie.
Yep.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I mean, it's so interesting too. My assumption is that because he's so real. I was just talking about this with someone the other day, but like I feel like he must have found that he related more to the culture of like whatever you want to call it, heavy music, because of how hip hop has turned into more about the glamour and all that. You know what I'm saying? So like I feel like maybe he saw something in heavy music that just kept him, because he's been doing this longer than hip hop at this point in his life.
Yeah,
if you think about it. He's put out, I mean, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure.
That hip hop album the straight hip hop album he put out last year, that was he hadn't done anything like that in a long time. Yeah, so you might be right.
But he also did something like where he put out. I don't know if the third video came out yet, but the first one was "Feds in My Rear View." Mm-hmm. Fuck. That was one of the best songs that he put out in the last fucking 20 years.
Well, you look at his career.
I mean, God. I'll send it to you.
He's probably got some FU money from Law and Order all those years. He's in a perfect place to be like, I'm just can do whatever I want, like creatively right now, and just pick it,
And that's the best place to be.
Sure.
Where you could pay your bills, which I'm sure the TV show pays his bills.
Oh my God, it's the longest running TV show in the history of television. They've already broken the record.
Yeah,
and they are all the longest cast members to also ever. It started with like one of the older dudes. It was like the longest.
Jerry Orbach, was it? I think it was.
The Bells.
Belzer.
Oh, Belzer.
He was like the longest character ever running on like a.
Yeah, because he was on a. Was it Brooklyn? There was another Homicide.
Okay.
Oh, and I think the Munch character was on
Munch. That's right.
On like another show,
Munch.
like he always played that character.
Yeah.
For so long. I mean, what a gig!
Shout out to them.
God bless.
So I guess that event went over. It looked like it went pretty cool.
Yeah, it was really cool.
Okay.
Yeah. Something weird happened at that event. I don't know if I should talk about it, but I might as well. But like
you shit your pants?
Everyone knows about the
glossing right over it.
The Cro-Mags beef between the two.
Oh, because
dude got stabbed right at one of the shows.
Well, that happened, but like
not
what I'm referring to is how like there's two Cro-Mags.
Yes,
and Harley's playing the body count show.
Yeah, so now that's supposedly being postponed. I don't know when this is airing, but that's on Sunday. So by the time this airs, probably old news. But like, I wore a Cro-Mags hat that I got. I don't know Harley. I'm just gonna set the record straight. Okay. I'm a fan. I played a show recently that Harley was at, and he, I guess, I told him I was a big fan, and he gave someone a hat to give me, and I wore it. And anyone that is close with the two Cro-Mags can tell the difference between the new merch and the old merch. And I was wearing that, and I posted a photo of myself wearing the hat, woke up the next day, and Harley Flanagan posted a photo of me wearing the hat on the Cro-Mags page on Instagram. And I didn't do anything about it, but I was pretty horrified just because I'm a fan of what all those guys do, but it was just one of those things. I'm like, I don't want to walk out my door.
You don't want to
have anyone think that I took a side. I was literally just wearing the hat, and I posted a photo of myself at my own event, and the last thing I thought that was going to happen was that this guy was going to post a photo of me on his, and he did.
Right.
It's so weird.
Oh man.
Yeah,
I get that.
You know, it's such a touchy thing that it's like I just let them sort it out. Like
right.
I don't want
nothing happened.
I'm just a fan of the band. That's it.
just like the band for sure.
Yeah, for real.
and it's funny. So like if we flip over to Total Meltdown, like I was telling Langan before, so you start playing in a band playing guitar.
Right.
And to me, like a lot of those songs really are reminiscent to like Cro-Mags and early like Suicidal.
Yeah.
Oh, totally.
Yep.
I mean, like you guys were saying before. Well, also the thing that was concerning is my new band, Total Meltdown. It was me and my singer. We haven't played a show yet. We just came out with a new record, and Harley posts a photo of me and my singer and my new band on their page. So it's just like in the hardcore scene, especially in New York, it almost looks as if we are endorsing him. So it's like, fuck. Like I can't. I'm like, I can't believe that just happened. But yeah, like you guys were saying before about movies and music. I watched what was that Christian Slater where he's a skateboarder,
Gleaming
the Cube. Yeah,
and that got me into Suicidal. So I was really into suicidal tendencies and that kind of stuff early on, and you know. Like you, Sam, and I'm sure both of you, like I have a wide variety of music tastes. Like you know a lot about black metal, which is very impressive. I've always just for some reason ended up in like indie-ish bands with a little bit of an aggressive edge that have some spacey element to it. Like every band I've ever really been known to be in has that in common. But through that entire time I've been in bands like that, I was always listening still on a regular basis to Cro-Mags, Agnostic Front, Suicidal. Since like the day that I got into those bands, I still listen to those records at least once a month. Like,
how do you think like influences work? Because I've had this conversation before. Like we put my band's video up on something called Punkers TV.
Yeah.
Because it was a huge site, and you know, everyone seemed to like it, and you know, I mean, it was a bunch of views too. It was like almost like 11,000 views.
Jeez.
I mean, who knows how that happened, but all their videos get that much.
I think I saw your video.
Yeah. Neil Rubenstein made it.
That's right. It was really good.
Yeah. So, and these guys that are probably wearing mohawks or whatever it is, like some of them were like, I see zero element of punk in this music.
Oh, I know what you're saying.
And I'm just like, oh, okay, maybe you're right. I don't know. To me, like I had no idea that I was like so far off the mark. But like
the gatekeepers, they're everywhere.
But as far as like influences go, so the stuff I listen to is never the music that, let's say, Playing Dead turned into. So that's funny.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, you're a songwriter, so that probably is a little different. Like I've been playing as a drummer in people's bands, and I never wrote any of the songs that I have ever played in any of these bands. So Total Meltdown,
I mean, you brought
I brought my style, sure. But Total Meltdown, I wrote like 90%.
You the main guitarist?
Yeah, I'm the only guitar player.
Oh, so there's only one?
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny because when I hear it, I do almost like I almost even hear like a slight, you know, like on those like bends and pinches,
sure,
like some Gavin in there too.
Oh, I totally. Yeah, and that's like, you know, as a New Yorker, you know, which is so cool about just the thing I love about hardcore and New York specifically is that we have like these like legendary guys. Even in Long Island, we were talking earlier. Like I don't know how many people in the world listen to Tripface, but to me, Tripface might as well be fucking like up there with like the Melvins or fucking Sonic Youth to me, you know? Like, so like we still have these guys that we see walking around that might not even be playing in bands anymore.
But we know,
and I'm influenced by them. So like, you know, Gavin does have fans, you know, obviously, but like I'm like incredibly inspired by like Die 116 and everything Burn, obviously, but like that's totally coming out.
And but like you said, like you know, growing up listening to like Suicidal and all that other stuff, so that was a long time ago.
Yeah.
But yet, like, you know, like a lot of the bands that you came out of the gate with, obviously on the Might of Princes, later on, Gracer.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's funny. You never got a chance to exercise that muscle, because even like in Primitive Weapons or certain bands that were a little heavier, it wasn't that straightforward style. So how long have you had these riffs for?
Some of them, like the first song on the EP I've had for years, and you know, like
what I like? Total Meltdown, off Total Meltdown,
Yeah.
from Total Meltdown, like all three.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
It's like Run the
guys,
Jewels.
It's like, you know, you have you kind of just like sit on stuff,
Right.
And you know, at least for me, like I've always had like hardcore songs in my arsenal. But then one day I was like, you know, I'm going to turn 40. I mean, this is serious. I was like, I'm going to turn 40 soon. I want to do this because at a certain point, not saying that if you're 45 and older, you can't fucking start a band.
Still time.
Why are you looking at me?
Yeah.
And I got some jokes from people like, oh, you decided to start a fucking hardcore band at 40? What are you going through a midlife crisis? Like, yeah, sort of. But
You know what?
That's righteous, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why not? And so when did you start playing guitar, though?
I started playing guitar really early on. There was this is funny, actually. There was a guy that worked at Sam Ash in Carl Place in Long Island who was, it must have been in the 80s, in the late 80s. He was in a Burger King commercial playing a glam metal guy, and he like burst into Burger King like fucking shredding solos while people are eating, and there was some kind of like narrative where whoever was singing,
I love the 80s.
Singing,
Fucking
So
great.
good.
So
like,
much cocaine ideas.
Yeah. It was like, yeah, exactly. And that guy, I don't know how I made the connection. He was the guy that sold me my guitar at Sam Ash, and he taught me how to play "Smoke on the Water" by Deep Purple.
That's where it starts.
I mean,
that's where
yeah,
it
you
started.
couldn't really write it better than that, you know?
Yeah.
Played 4 drums. So
Yeah.
I've been playing guitar.
I didn't know that. I
Yeah.
never knew that.
I mean, I'm not. Look, I don't have my own shit. Like everything I use is borrowed or somebody's stuff. I showed up to practice the other day for the first time with pedals, and they were in a ShopRite. I just said ShopRite. That doesn't exist anymore. In a Walgreens plastic bag.
Yeah.
And everyone was laughing. So I still don't have my own shit, but I sit on my couch and play guitar by myself pretty often.
All right.
So who's in the band?
So it is my friend Ralph Torres, who's never been in a band, but the idea was he sings along at every show since we were kids. Like he's on the back of an Indecision shirt, with like those hardcore shirts where there's a guy fucking screaming to the mic.
Yeah.
And he's just been that guy for so long.
So he's like the Watch.
I was just going to
yeah,
say.
he totally is. And actually, it's funny. The Watch, yeah, totally. I just took video of the Watch at Killing Time. They gave him a microphone and made him sing.
I just hung out with him last night.
That's great. I love the Watch.
That guy's been in more pictures
Yeah,
than anyone I've ever met.
He's
every
like
show.
He's like the statue.
Yeah,
Totally.
He's always lifted up.
Somebody called him the New York hardcore gargoyle.
That's what I'm talking about, though. We have characters here. Like, I'm assuming they have them in other scenes, but like,
Sure.
I have a feeling that they're not as cool as the ones we have, because you always see Ron Grimaldi with his long hair and the Watch next to each other, and it looks amazing.
Lucky me, because I got to hang out with Ron Friday. We went to the Michael Lalago book signing.
Oh, I saw that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I love Michael. Well, just to wrap it up,
Sure.
Ralph, even though I had some riffs, the idea was to start a band for him and to shape it around what a band would sound like if he had one. So it was kind of a gift for him that we gave to him.
That's so cool.
Yeah. And then my friend Corey, who played,
Was he always on board with that, or was he shy?
We made jokes for years about how he needed to be in a band, and I would hear him scream when people would put the mic out,
Right.
and it's like, it's not rocket science. You don't have to be the best, but we're like, we can do this.
Sure.
And he ended up being better than I thought. He's really into hip hop, so he had a kind of like a hip hop when he finally
Some
got
of the
behind
delivery,
mic,
yeah.
it was-
Mhm.
yeah. Some of the delivery was like Chaka
Yeah.
meets
Sure.
like Chaka meets Ray Capo, Youth of Today era is kind of how I feel he ended up sounding. But Corey Bonfiglio from Aeschylus
Okay.
is on drums, who's usually a guitar player, and then my friend Drew Castle, who plays in a band called Perfect Worlds, is on bass.
Oh, with Brian Wallace.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's the
And
band.
Jay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know those guys very well, but so I'm nodding and saying yes.
Oh, yeah.
But,
Yeah,
Actually,
yeah.
no, I think he replaced Jay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Jay's a great designer.
He's a good designer.
Yeah, for sure.
But
Yeah. So, I mean, you guys released a fucking EP. So, are you gonna play shows?
Yeah. Well, our first show is with Killing Time
Oh,
at a
nice.
Sunday matinee at A7. It's free.
Oh, with the Drew Stone thing.
The Drew Stone thing, yeah. Speaking of Michael Alago.
Speaking of Michael Alago,
Yeah,
did you
yeah.
watch that documentary?
I did. I thought it was awesome.
Very
Thank
good.
God it was on Netflix, because he has he fucking discovered
Just
He
everything.
didn't discover Metallica, but he brought Metallica to a major. And then of course there's Cyndi Lauper.
Yeah.
So for him to have his story out there, and he's not just some guy that found bands. His whole background is so fascinating.
His whole background is amazing. We did an If I Ruled the World with him, and just super nice. Invited us to his place, all that other stuff, and it just all be like when he walked into that Webster Hall before it was Webster, or whatever it was called.
Oh, right.
And he was just like, I want to work here, and the guy was like, who the fuck are you? And it was just like that, like fearlessness that kind of like the beginning of his life, and how it just put him in the direct line of all these things, and it's someone who just takes the wheel, and steers shit, and you don't miss stuff, because a lot of times in life, even like when I look back, I'm like, I should have done something more.
Well, the fearlessness is exactly the key there. I mean, and especially in the movie, I don't want to give too much away, because he was a gay kid in New York City in the 80s, and no one fucked with him. He talks about that.
Yeah,
like he was fine,
right?
And that was a time when people were less accepting.
Yeah, it wasn't as cool.
He just walked into places and like owned his shit.
He did.
And made a career out of it.
Yeah, even when he was doing the book signing, I don't know. You just see him, and you kind of just want to like high five him, hug him, because he's so. I don't know. Everyone in that place he acknowledges. Like no one's overlooked. Like he just. I don't know. He's just like such a cool dude.
And we're making jokes about like useless info, but like obviously his story was interesting enough for Netflix to fucking pick it up. So like it's cool that in this like weird sort of little niche world that we all live in, that there are some people paying attention. And now we always talk about music docs. Yeah. Like now we're to the age where things get docs now. Bands fucking get docs.
The docs, books are being written. I can learn like so much about these bands I grew up with.
The Dirt was made.
I'll watch a doc on anybody too.
Yeah,
anyone. I watched that Little Peep one on Netflix. I didn't watch it yet, but I'll watch it. I never heard a song, but I don't care. I like learning shit.
I've never heard a song, but
I've never heard of them.
Nah.
It's a rapper. It's a young rapper from Long Island who
Little
died.
Peep.
Yeah, Little Peep.
Oh, I did hear of him. Wasn't it like emo rap or something?
Yeah.
I don't even know, but it's a music doc.
It's a weird thing. Like these kids all somehow grew up listening to everything from Nirvana to like, trap music, and they somehow made this like gumbo music and threw it on SoundCloud, and it reached it's youth culture.
Oh no,
which is why we passed it.
Yeah,
I don't. It's not for me.
No,
to me, like I'll never get it. The closest I got to it was Euphoria on HBO.
I'm in the middle of. I got to like episode 3, and I haven't passed it yet.
What do you think so far?
I think it's like obviously like we are in our like I'm about to be 40. You guys are in your 40s, so it's not like. All right, well, I'll say this: like there's similarities to shit that I'm sure we all went through, but there's also elements that are a little more of today's youth that you're just like, oh, okay, I guess that like there's not going to give away anything, but like there's a
everyone dies at the end.
There's elements of like the the YouTube culture that we didn't grow up with. So like, what if when I was getting bullied, someone fucking put that on Instagram? You know what I mean? So
that is a weird
kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's a weird dynamic for sure. Like,
dude, you think about all the embarrassing moments you had in like school days or whatever, for it to be one of those moments to be immortalized forever. On the internet. It's like horrifying.
Yeah,
man.
That's an interesting thing for sure.
It kind of gives you a little glimpse into a world that you don't.
We're lucky that we're lucky and we're not lucky, because in a weird way, I wish I could, not to get dark, but I wish that some of the things that happened to me could have been documented.
Yeah.
So I could be like, so I could just fucking at least point a finger and be like, like look what that like this was like my life. Like I couldn't fucking go anywhere in my town.
I'm like, where's that rug? I'm sweeping. When I was in 7th grade, this one kid like pushed me and I fell backwards and I broke my wrist.
Oh
man. So like if that was on YouTube, I'd be like, watching it every day, training like Rocky IV. somewhere in like the Russian, Alps.
Kid gets owned.
Yeah, fat kid gets owned.
It's unbelievable. I got into so many fights. I mean, that's fucked up. I'm sorry that you have a sense of humor about it.
Oh, yeah.
I got into so many fights, and I didn't start learning how to fight until my late 30s. And I'm not saying I'm like the most skilled, but like if I could have gone back, and I always tell my friends with kids this, I'm like, the best thing you could do for your kid is to teach them how to like enroll them somewhere so they know how to defend themselves.
Right. For sure, because the moment you stop it, like that one kid's going to be like, all right, I ain't going to fuck with this guy. Because even if you're kind of iffy, it's like, this guy might fight back. Like, they're going to go to the one who ain't going to fight back.
Yeah. Like going to the joint, you got to punch the biggest guy.
That's it.
That's what you did, right?
That's what I did. Yeah. The joint was funny. But so going to you real quick, I could edit it out if you don't want to talk about it. But as far as like training with Gavin, but also sobriety.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm about to be 16 months.
Nice.
This month.
He's 16 minutes.
Come on now.
How long have you been sober, Sam?
1998.
Good for you. It's 20. Wait,
22
is that 22 years?
Almost 22.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, funny talking about Gavin. It's hard to ever do a podcast with me without bringing him up, and I'm drinking my burn mug, which you noticed. But I was at a really low point with. I still don't consider myself an addict. I know that's like what they tell you not to say, but like I just had a hard time controlling myself in a party atmosphere. But I was never doing drugs or drinking alone necessarily. I mean, I drank alone sometimes, but I just needed. Gavin is somebody I looked up to as a musician, but I kind of knew his story and I knew he'd been sober for a long time. So if I was going to listen to anybody, it had to be somebody like that. Because I tried meetings and I tried sober therapists or counselors or whatever.
Didn't work for me.
It did not work. And I still don't really go to meetings. I mean, I might once in a while for some perspective, but it's not what gets me through. And he generously took me into his gym for free. Like, he let me try it out for a month. And I was still using and drinking and doing all sorts of shit. But then, like, I think he did that because maybe, I don't know if it was by design, but it worked. Like,
I just want to say the name of his gym.
Physical Culture Collective in Bed-Stuy, New York. Okay. But it worked in terms of, like, I realized I couldn't train and use at the same time. I was getting bloody noses in the middle of doing like sit-ups and shit, and I could barely breathe when I was doing stuff. So I actually got sober doing it. That's what helped me. And then I didn't stay I did 7 months sober, then I did 8 months sober, fell off both times, and now I'm at 16 and it's way easier.
Yeah.
And I just... I still go out. I'm around people using and drinking because it's part of my life, but it doesn't bother me anymore.
Same.
I have alcohol in the house. I'm not drinking it. It's for my friends. Like,
right.
I thought you guys might want drinks, but
I don't drink.
No.
I'm an open book about everything, so there's nothing you could ever ask me. I'm pretty good with that.
But so that brings us to the band that you're currently in, Spotlights.
Yes.
Which how did you? I know that you weren't the original drummer, so how did you meet up with Spotlights?
I was Dave Castillo, the owner of St. Vitus and the booking guy there, like basically like played Spotlights for me because he came across his desk, so to speak. And I'm a really big fan of bands like Failure and Shiner and
that's
Perfect Circle.
Yeah.
Like,
oh man.
Yeah.
It's funny. Everything you just described is exactly what they sound like.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, that's what I heard. I like spacey rock
and Autolux.
Yeah.
Autolux was dope. And like, yeah, exactly. And so when he played it for me, he kind of played it for me in the pretense like this band sounds like something that you would listen to. And I think he even said like it sounds like whoever's playing drums, it sounds like you playing. It's like weird.
And this was during Primitive Weapons with you guys.
Yeah. So I actually felt bad because I don't think that when he gave that to me that he intended for me to like spend more time playing in someone else's band because we were in Primitive Weapons together. But and he was cool with it. But like I watched him play, ironically opening up for Shiner. So I saw them play a few times and I really got into the band. It was really kind of different from there's a lot of metal going on, a lot of hardcore and stuff like that at the time in 2016, still now, but a lot of doom. Everyone sounds like Sabbath around here.
That is so true. Like Master of Reality is like the Bible for like, that's like the new thing now. It's like, which is cool.
Yeah.
But
there's a lot of those bands.
There's a lot of those bands.
I just had a major resurgence, so I was just stoked to hear like a spacey rock band,
Yeah.
And I introduced myself at St. Vitus. They were super cool. We became friends. I never thought that I would be in the band, or like that was never like part of the conversation. It was just like, you guys are awesome. That was great. And then they called me. The singer called me one day, like a year later, and wouldn't tell me who they were touring with, and told me that their drummer couldn't finish a tour. And I told him I was too busy at my job with Revolver and I couldn't do it. I just said no immediately.
Right.
And then he broke his rule, I guess, and was like, well, all right, well, it's with the Deftones. And I just immediately, without letting him speak, and he was like, it's with the Deftones, and refused. And I'm like, oh, no, I can figure that out. And we just started laughing.
Yeah.
And he's like, really? Just like that, huh? And I'm just like, I'm like, yeah, I could figure it out. I
had to sweeten the deal.
Yeah, so I ended up doing that.
That's like if someone asked me if I wanted to, like, I don't know, move chairs around at that show, I'd be like, I think I could do that.
Yeah, I could squeeze that in
I
my schedule.
Also given up. I had given up. I'm sure we can relate to this. Like, music is so hard.
Yes,
sure.
At that point in my life, I straight up had given up on the idea of like being in a real full-time. I don't want to say real. All bands are real, but like in a full-time touring
something
band,
where you could support yourself.
Yeah, and the whole idea of trying to be in a band and tour and get signed. I was actually like telling my family and who I was dating at the time, like I was like, I'm done touring because I tried for so long, and I had even stopped playing in bands for a while. For like 2 years, I quit Primitive Weapons. So when that came up, it was literally.
Do I really want to go back?
Yeah,
right.
But that was worth it. And
obviously, yeah.
I was 36. I'm gonna be 40 this year, and I've never been more dedicated to playing music. More, even back when I was doing it in my 20s.
It's amazing because it happens, and sometimes it happens to the right person.
Yeah.
Someone like you, someone like Angie Boylan, who's in Sleater-Kinney now.
It's insane that she's in Sleater-Kinney.
She's like, I'm playing Forest Hills with Wilco. No big deal.
She asked me for drum lessons a few times, and I was too busy.
Yeah.
She doesn't need them.
Yeah, listen, she was always amazing. She played in Playing Dead for like 6 months and then realized that we were awful human beings.
Oh my God, stop.
And Dave Case, Helmet. Same thing.
God,
like eventually people just, something happens where, you get put in that position, and lifelong musicians are like just given that ladder to step into the matrix, basically.
You know what I think it is too? And I don't think it's like, when you say the right people, it sounds pretentious to kind of accept a compliment like that. I think I realize this now that like, if you,
basically a great drummer, and that's what you are.
Thank you. It does certainly take talent, but I also think that if you don't leave the scene, which we obviously are still in it, if we're sitting here doing this, like a lot of people have bounced. You know what I mean? And what happens, I think, in New York is when people.
Langan did.
I think. He's doing a podcast, so you still do. You're talking to people. But I think that when you're a survivor and you stay, like in New York, I can tell you this much: like if you told me that I could hang out in a bar with Walter Schreifels or work out with Gavin from Burn when I was 16 and they were on the posters on my wall, I'd be like, that's nuts. But I think when people don't leave, they inevitably end up hanging out with each other or running into each other in the same places, because the majority of people in the scene leave. Most of them actually leave. I'd say, like, in my opinion, what it seems like to me is like more than 50% of them bounce because they go, I grew out of this. I got married. I got kids. I don't play anymore. I got discouraged because my bands didn't go anywhere. And then they just fucking bounce. And so then everyone leaves, and then you go, like, literally you walk into a bar and you go, oh, who's here? It's me, the guy from Youth of Today, the guy from Quicksand, the guy from Mind Over Matter. And then you start to cross-pollinate. And it's like, I know your band. I've been listening. And that's how I think a lot of shit ended up happening here.
Yeah.
Is that because there was just leftover people from the scene that just didn't want to leave. We just fucking ended up talking to each other,
Yeah.
which is cool. It's gonna happen if you just fucking
Stick
if you
around
stay
long
in the same bar. Literally, if you stay in the same bar for long enough, and everyone's bouncing, you're gonna be like, you've been here still, like you're still in there.
But now you get like someone like Artie, like you said, you listen to Mind Over Matter.
Totally.
Obviously Gavin, you did Canonized with him. Like these are guys that you looked up to that now I've heard personally say how awesome of a drummer you are. So that's to get that compliment from like your peers now, that's so cool.
It means a lot. I mean, I'm not trying to be the modest guy. I'm not the best drummer, but I work with what I have. That's what I've always believed.
Work inside your means and kill those means, because like for me, I'm not the best guitar player, but like if you give me a guitar, I'll write you a song in 30 minutes.
Getting the job done.
I mean, look at Kurt Cobain.
Yeah.
Like, that's the fucking classic example. Like, was he the greatest? No, but he really fucking learned how to take a Beatles song and make it sound like it was being covered by Black Flag. That was his trick, and he fucking did it.
That's pretty good, because that's exactly what Bleach is.
Yeah.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah, exactly.
Because those melodies were definitely influenced by the Beatles,
100%.
but the playing was Greg Ginn.
Yeah.
Right. Totally. Every solo on every single Nirvana song sounded like a Greg Ginn solo.
Yeah.
Not one fucking song didn't sound like that.
And he was speaking of influences that sometimes don't make sense, when I tell people, to me, like growing up, Kirk Hammett, for me.
Right.
But I couldn't play like him.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm just like, I don't get it. And then Greg Ginn, I was like, oh, I think I could do that.
Yeah.
It was so ugly and sloppy and dissonant. But to me, like, you either get dissonance or you don't. Because some people hear it and they're like, oh, that's not even the right note. And I'm like, but it's so good.
You're absolutely right. I was just talking about that with Justin Williams the other day.
Okay. Shout out to Justin.
Yeah.
Bearchild.
Like you're some people just write clean music because they can't take wrong notes.
Yeah.
But then you listen to something like Cursive or something like that, and the whole thing is designed to be unsettling. Like, everything's dissonant.
Unreal.
You know what I mean?
Like, when I first heard Domestica, I mean, Tim Kasher is one of the best songwriters ever. Domestica and The Ugly Organ, like, hearing those records, like, holy shit, man, they ruled the world for like 3 years.
Absolutely. And the dissonance played into like the distraughtness of the song, what the song's about. All these songs were about fucking losing your wife or like a marriage ending at the time, like,
which you should be happy about.
Yeah, right. I love my ex-girlfriend, but if I was still in that relationship, even she admits that I would have never ended up doing half the shit that I ended up doing, and I'm not even where I want to be at. I'm still trying.
But still, like, for someone, like, people ask me how I do everything I do, and I'm thinking, like, what do I do? Please, like, I don't really, it's like I pursue things that I'm passionate about, but I don't make a living out of it. It's just something that I love to do.
You enjoy it, yeah.
Yeah, whether it's like I'm either going to a show, trying to make a video, or doing a podcast, or writing a song. Like, I go to work, and then I do the rest with the 16 hours that I have.
You require a creative element in your life, you know what I mean?
Need it.
Yeah.
I absolutely need it. But then I see someone like you, and I jokingly said one day that when I grow up, I wanted to be like Chris.
Which is, the grass is always greener, because I'm like when I'm a single guy, you know what I mean? And it's cool that you're in a relationship and you can play music and do stuff. I've never experienced that, like, I've always had an issue with that.
It's tough sometimes.
So, but I appreciate the kind words. What were we just talking about? I was going to comment on the last thing you just said, to go back. Creative outlets.
Yeah.
That's why I like this. Podcasting is also a form of creative outlet, because you get to, even if you're doing like a DIY thing, which is what you're doing, it's kind of like playing music. Like, I'm learning something by talking to people, and I love talking to people. You know what I mean? And I listen to podcasts, whether it's the ABC Dateline News daily, so I could hear what happened the night before in a half hour, or Joe Rogan, or your fucking shit with George. Like, I just think it's such a great outlet, and it's a great way for people to just sort of give off of each other.
It's having real conversations, as opposed, like, if you see like a professional interview show and they sit down for like 5-10 minutes and they hit all the points and stuff, you don't learn shit about people, you know what I mean? But
Right.
if you really have a free form thing where you have no time limit, talk whatever you want, it's when you really get to know
absolutely.
somebody.
You're eavesdropping in a conversation.
Exactly.
And sometimes we'll go certain places, and that might be interesting to some people. So that's kind of like, what we gear it towards. And also, like, we get to keep certain things alive. I remember when podcasts first started coming out, like, people would bring up bands that I didn't even listen to.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe like when someone brought up Crowbar, I'm like, oh, I like the first record. I'm like, maybe I should listen to Crowbar.
Right.
Sure.
It's just like this, like, it's like a spin cycle of like shit that you forget about sometimes.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, Dream Warriors, Nightmare on Elm Street. I haven't seen that in a while. And then you stop listening to the podcast after it's over, and you go watch it, and these things almost like never die because
You're welcome, Don Dokken.
Are there podcasts about movies? Is that a thing?
Listen, there's podcasts about fucking milking cows.
Yeah,
well, because you guys talk about movies a lot. Do you guys listen to podcasts about movies?
Do you?
More music, I find, but there's a couple that are pretty good out there.
What are some of the ones that you listen to?
There's one called like 1980s All Over or something, where they go through each month of each year of the decade of the 80s and the movies that came out. Real brief analysis about
that's pretty cool.
So many things you're like, oh my god, I forgot that fucking movie. You know what I mean? And it gets to the point, stuff like that. How did this get made? Sometimes it's funny where they pick like a really awful movie like a Jaws 3D or some shit and break it down fully,
terrible,
you know what I mean? Stuff like that. But
that's one series that had the worst. That was one of
those. It was a hard. That was one of those.
Off it
was
like
one
of
another.
One of the best movies ever made that had 3 of the worst sequels ever made.
Easily.
There's a bunch of those.
But that one was
the premise of Jaws 3 alone, like that. What the mother shark is coming back for revenge.
That's 4.
That's 4.
Yeah.
Is it Michael Caine in that one?
Yeah.
That's batshit crazy. The
revenge.
shark's like going for revenge to the people that figured out who killed this kid, Yeah,
that's outrageous.
It's insane.
You know what was ruined for me that was my favorite and I think has still never gotten its justice was I was a comic book guy, but The Incredible Hulk should have, in theory, been the fucking greatest thing they could have like capitalized off of and done something cool with, and there was never.
Shout out to Lou Ferrigno.
Yeah, I mean, the show was cool, I guess. But like,
the show's terrible.
That's all we had.
That's all we had.
Yeah.
There was never a good movie. I mean, like,
no.
What was the guy that
Ruffalo played one?
Ed Norton did one, right?
Ed Norton did one, but he wasn't even happy with it, and like everything.
That Ang Lee did that, right? I think
probably.
I believe, but yeah, they never gave you the Hulk you wanted. You just wanted the Hulk to get on there and fuck shit up, and they never gave you that, like. You know what I mean?
We never got the Hulk we deserved.
Even like when I went to see, and I'm not a huge superhero guy, but I took my son to see the Infinity Wars thing or whatever. And like I was like, yo, man, the Hulk, dude, watch this dude. He's gonna fuck shit up. I didn't say it to my kid, but
that would have been great if you turned.
He was like in glasses and like he was like that intelligent Hulk or whatever, the glasses and something like but like look like the Hulk, and I'm like, he didn't fuck up nothing. Yeah, my son's like, what the fuck was it?
Yeah.
That's so funny.
Yeah. My dad likes shitty movies.
Never dropped the hammer.
Yeah.
No.
So yeah, man. All right. So you get in there. You do that tour. I remember. That played Coney Island, right?
He played Coney Island. I didn't play that show, but I was there. I almost got kicked off the tour at that show before I even played my first show.
Oh man!
What did you do?
Gotta hear this.
I
drank somebody's water.
I was not. No, I was
20
drinking.
minutes late.
I was
2 hours late in the helicopter.
2 hours in the helicopter.
Yeah, right. My band had been on the Deftones Refuse tour for a week already with a different drummer, the guy that had to drop off because he had to go back to his job, and I was going to kind of creep in there and then finish the rest of it, right? So they already got a taste of what the road life was like in this like huge situation. First tour ever, by the way.
Like, for them?
Yeah, and my first show ever with the band. Wow. Never played a club, so it was just a weird entrance. But I showed up to Coney Island Amphitheater, and I was not used. I've played some cool shit, but like I wasn't used to the gravity of like of like backstage treatment that they were getting, and I think that I just saw stars and like lost my mind a little bit and let myself go. Like I noticed as soon as I got there,
Blue M&Ms?
They were just like it was just like the catering was ridiculous, and then the fucking like alcohol spread was unbelievable.
Yeah.
And there was a guy who worked hospitality. That's when I learned that there was a guy whose job it was to like replenish all the whiskey, all the tequila, and like everything backstage whenever it's finished, and that you could take it and bring it with you and leave, like and bring it in the van or whatever you're traveling in, and I brought a girl with me that I was trying to impress, which was so dumb on my part.
But I mean, we've all been there.
Right, so I show up backstage. They're getting ready to play. Some guy fucking brings a whiskey, and I'm like, who the fuck is that guy? And they're like, oh, that's what he does. And I'm like, really? That's 6. I'm drinking. And I'm not playing I'm not playing.
So like, watch, I'm gonna finish this. He's gonna bring another one.
I don't need to stay sober because I'm not playing. And you know when you go watch concerts and there's like the screens on both sides of the stage, so that if you're in the back, you basically see like a 1,000-foot version of the lead singer or whatever,
We're professional stage potatoes, we know.
Well, yeah,
No
so
question.
I got pretty drunk at the point that Deftones went on, and some of my friends were taking pictures of me on the screen. I was a little closer to Chino than I should have been, just rocking out on stage, and I get these text messages of it's a photo of me next to Chino on stage, and I'm like 700 feet big and next to him. And like I just laughed it off and thought it was funny. I didn't like make anything of it, and I spent like most of the show there. No one said anything to me about that being a problem. Go backstage, kind of know Sergio from Deftones because he's a New York guy. So like I got a little too comfortable, and I was like pretty drunk, and I was hanging out backstage in their dressing room, just sitting down. No one in the band seemed to have a problem with it, but the red flag was that the tour manager noticed me on the screen earlier on and saw me in their room, saw me drinking, could tell I was wasted. And he said to my future bandmates, and it's amazing I didn't get kicked out. I had so many reasons why I should have gotten kicked out. They were like, the tour manager was like, who's that guy? Pointed at me. Like, oh, that's our drummer. They're like, yeah, nice try. He wasn't on stage playing, but he was on stage drunk standing next to our lead singer for the entire show on screen. And they're like, oh, well, it's weird. He's replacing our drummer, and he starts in like 2 days. They're like, okay, well, we were going to ask him to leave, so maybe you could tell him that if he's going to be doing this, that there are some rules. And one of the rules was also that the All Access tour badge, the laminate, was not mine to keep. And there's a reason why I'm telling you this, but they told me not to lose it as well, on top of the other shit that I did that I fucked up, because you have to give it to the other band that's replacing you on the tour, which I think was like Code Orange or something. So it's not mine. I don't get to bring that home. So I leave the show, and one of my friends, like, I guess I had a messenger bag with the seatbelt button on it, the chrome bike messenger bags. I had my laminate hanging off of that, and we're hanging out at a bar, and I'm fucking wasted, and he hit the button to be funny, and I guess I lost I didn't realize until the next day, but I had lost the Deftones laminate.
This story's hurting.
I showed up.
Are you still in the band?
I showed up to the show the next day, and they were like, hey, man, how you doing?
I know where this is going.
I'm like, good, what's up? They're like, did you have fun last night? I'm like, yeah. They're like, might have had a little too much fun, huh? And I'm like, what do you mean? And they're like, you're gonna have to apologize to the Deftones tour manager and he told me everything. I'm like, you're kidding? They're like, no, we're serious. Like, I mean, they're cool, like they'll forgive you, and they know we need you on this tour, so it's cool, but you just have to apologize and just kind of maybe scale it back a little bit. They're like, by the way, where's your tour laminate? And I'm like, oh. They're like, you're kidding. And I'm like, no, I'm not. They're like, you haven't even played a show yet. I'm like, I know. I don't even know what to say. This might explain my my sobriety. But yeah, like that happened.
Actually, yes, it does. Actually,
yeah, I get it.
Yeah, I mean, this is how you fuck up. So, but luckily, I fucking got my shit together. I was cool. They played. They liked me. You know, we made it work.
All right. Wow. Rocky start.
Here's what not to do.
Let's take a break. What do you think of that tempo?
That tempo right now for anyone that's not listening. For anyone listening that doesn't know what we're talking about, we just took a break and Sam has like a click track, which is like a metronome that counts you in, and it's very slow. That would be like a doom band. Mm-hmm. That would be a doom band.
Yeah, we got it set to doom.
Funeral doom.
Yeah, that's it. We figure we're in Brooklyn, so doom is the home of doom.
Yeah, apparently. We're in Bed-Stuy right now. It was the land of
Biggie Smalls.
Biggie,
Do or die.
But now it's the land of fucking guys that want to be bikers and love Sabbath.
You know what? If you're gonna have a flip side, it's not a bad flip side.
It's not a bad flip.
It's not a bad flip side.
Yeah.
Bedford Stuyvesant, the livest one. So continuing with Spotlights, somewhere along the way, you guys get signed to Ipecac Records, which is Mike Patton's label.
Yeah.
That's a fucking big deal.
Yeah.
It is.
For nerds.
Yeah.
To really talk about what you were talking about before, how getting in trouble. When I hear a story like that, I think to myself, it's in the most innocent of ways, because we're such music fans, we're such music dorks, and we're so happy to be there that it's hard. It's hard not to be like, yo, you played on Around the Fur. You know what I'm saying? Right. Like, you're just.
I have a great story.
Did you get kicked out of Refuse? God.
No, but after that happened with the Deftones tour, I had a couple moments where I was not the best, but then I really cleaned up my act. And with the Ipecac thing, I am such a massive Faith No More fan. I love Bungle, but I'm just a massive Faith No More fan. I wanted to be Mike Patton when I was young, when I saw him on
That's why you played drums.
Yeah, right. Well, he was the first guy. Everyone has the comb over cut, whatever you call it.
Oh, yeah.
He was the first person ever in my life that ever saw with that haircut. Yeah. It was like Rock in Rio, 91.
He inspired Point Break.
Yeah, totally. Well, so I've always been pretty tame, in terms of I don't say much when he's around, because it's I'm kind of just the drummer in this band.
Sure.
My bandmates are married. They're a married couple. They handle everything. They deal with the label. They're the ones that got signed. The first album they put out in Ipecac, I wasn't on. I was on the last one. So I've met Mike Patton 3 times, and I barely said a word every time, because I especially at this point, I'm just this guy puts out my records, and I don't even know him, and I'm just gonna leave.
Is he pretty hands-on with the label, or what?
From what I understand, the way his role is more that he has to approve it, but it's his manager Greg runs the record label, and a bunch of the releases are Mike Patton projects, obviously, like Phantom Us, and Tomahawk, and Faith No More, and then his friends like Melvins and stuff like that. We came across his managers. So the reason why a lot of the shit ever happened for us is because the drummer of the band ISIS was the drum tech for the Deftones, and he played Spotlights for Chino one day.
Wow.
Chino, based off of that, had his booking agent reach out to Spotlights, and they thought it was a joke and almost deleted it, didn't respond to it, and then realized it was real. Then we ended up on tour, and then the drummer from ISIS, who's also in a band with Chino called Palms.
Yeah, Palms. Yeah.
I love that
you
project.
Like Palms?
Oh, it's fantastic. Yeah.
So it's very incestuous how this all works. So so we owe it all to that band ISIS, basically. So the drummer of ISIS sent our shit to Ipecac and didn't think that they were going to respond. Mike Patton's manager, Greg, and his partner loved it, played it for Mike. Mike gave it the thumbs up. That's how we ended up on the label. And then Greg put us on tour with the Melvins for 3 months. He was like, you have to take this band out. And the tour manager for the Melvins is the keyboard player for ISIS and Palms. So it's all kind of rooted.
Wow.
God.
And then the first...
See what happens
when
you don't quit playing music?
And at first, it was kind of a bummer for me, but I never really saw myself as a real part of the band beyond touring until recently when I played in record. But the first Spotlights record that came out on Ipecac, most of the songs are played on drums by the drummer from ISIS. It's not me. Okay. So I toured on that, but it's actually him playing.
Gotcha.
So that, so that's kind of how we ended up on the label.
What is the songwriting process now, for this last record?
It's fucking weird. You want to hear this?
Sure.
Yeah.
I love telling this because I've never done this before, and everyone I tell looks at me like, whoa, that's nuts. So in Spotlights, our lead singer Mario, who also played drums on 90% of all the early material, finishes and records by himself completely, and will send his wife and myself. I mean, she's very much part of that. They're married. They're in the house together, so they write together. Mm-hmm. She'll veto something, but he's kind of taken the lead. And they live in Pittsburgh. They moved. Wow. So I live here. I think they wanted me to go there, but I'm from here and I didn't want to leave. So they basically do everything together. Then they send it to me, and it's like programmed drums. So I have like literally, I'm not just trying to downplay myself. I have no say or input. I listen to it and it's finished.
Sure.
And so when I went and recorded it, which is the weirdest thing in the world, which I've never done before, the first time I ever played those songs ever was when I recorded it on the record. So I've never sat and learned the songs or practiced. So like what you hear on the record is me playing those songs for the first time, because I basically listen. I know I see your face. I'll explain. I listened to the demos for like a month or two. Got in the studio. We also record ourselves. So everything we do ourselves. So we record ourselves. There's no engineer. We most of our stuff is in our practice space or their house.
So wow. So that's super in-house.
Yeah, like every record Spotlight's ever did, with the exception of the first full length on Ipecac, was done at Aaron Harris from ISIS. He has a studio and helped out, but everything else was done in our practice space wherever we were at the time. And I'm not talking about like a fancy one, like literally I hope the band next door doesn't play tonight so it doesn't bleed in. He just sure. Mario, my singer, just knows how to make shit sound good.
Which is amazing too. Like, so it's, gone are the days like, of spending $2 million on a record.
Right.
Because you're not going to get it back.
No.
So it's cheaper to make a record because of the technology. And then from there, I mean,
the records sound amazing, man.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much.
He knows what he's doing. I was telling him because
he had no idea.
I had no idea you guys even knew each other. And every Friday, I'm like religious on going to all my sites and finding out what comes out that day. And I heard this band, and I was like, posted him on the page, and Sam's just like, oh yeah, that's my friend, whatever.
Oh, he told me. That's awesome.
I was like, because I grew up on metal, but in the late 80s, early 90s, I really discovered like Lush and Swerve Driver and My Bloody Valentine and that kind of stuff. So now having like all the like shoegaze metal or whatever, for lack of a better term,
which has elements,
but Palms, Alcest, there's all these bands doing these dreamy kind of like combinations of these two genres that I love so much. It's nothing. Perfect. Nothing.
Oh, yeah,
exactly.
I fucking really appreciate that. I think you did tell me he was into that kind of stuff. There's a lot of stuff like that now.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah. I mean, he so I got in the studio, having never played these songs in my life. I'm kind of a lazy drummer. I just listen to stuff and I fucking show up and I do it. So like a lot of things I've done where I've played in other bands, I sit here on the couch and I listen to it, not even with drumsticks, and that's how I learn. Mm-hmm. And then I show up and I wing it and I hope that it's okay. But so I went into the
studio. You hear that, kids at home?
So I went into the studio and it was just me and my singer, and he just rolled tape. So it's like click track 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm playing alone, 2 tracks that are recorded. So I'm playing along. They just took the drums out of the demos that they had sent me. So it's just guitar, bass, keys, but no one's playing with me. So it's like I could see him through a window while I'm tracking, and when I mess up, we'd stop, do it over again, and then I'd do the song a couple times, and then we would cut and paste. I'm sorry if anyone hearing this is like bummed out to hear this, but like it is like how a lot of shit is made now.
Yeah,
we basically like cut and pasted a lot of stuff, like really good fills or really good parts, and so that's how we did the whole record. And maybe to an extent, I mean, he tells me this, I don't know if he's trying to make me feel good, but he told me he wrote a lot of stuff with my drumming in mind. So that's the extent of, kind of my style, but I'm not really, in a room at all, like talking about this stuff. Right. I'm kind of just dealt something and it's like, all right, here it is. And then when we were done, the first time we played those songs together in a room was to get ready for a tour like 4 months later. So we never played those songs. I've never done that before, but I've never played the songs before until I recorded them that day, which is what you hear on the record. Never played those songs with them in a room until 4 months after the record was made. It was all done backwards. And the drums were done first because those were scratch tracks. So then after I did the drums, they went back because it's all to a grid. Basically, I'm sure there's non-musicians listening, but when you do stuff to a grid on a click track, you can literally cut and paste or like punch in guitars or vocals or whatever you want. So it was all done very much taking advantage of like digital technology.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's interesting, man. Yeah.
It's weird to talk about, but I feel I haven't done anything with them since that, and I'm sure it's going to be the same way moving forward. But it was very bizarre, but it worked.
And so like the big tour that was announced, is that the next thing that you guys are playing with the Faith No More and Korn? So, but before that, you actually played Brooklyn Steel with Bungle.
Yeah.
So obviously, also Drew Stone's Antidote opened up the first show.
They played the second show.
Oh, the second show. You guys did the first?
We did the first one.
So how did that come about? Just the Epic Hat connection and
that was literally Patton. Patton put us in the hat. Oh, I'm sorry. I think Greg, his manager, wanted us. He suggested that we play one of the Bungle shows. So we got the New York one. And then Patton was the one that got us on the Faith No More tour, obviously. So like we were Faith No More's choice. And then
heavy. That's fucking heavy.
Yeah. So
you know, like you hear, I mean, like, wow.
That's
dude,
full
I fucking
circle
lost
shit.
my shit when I found out. And I got to tell you.
Yeah.
Would you get the email?
No, I'm going to tell you, I was in a sober bar. There's a sober bar now in New York.
A sober bar?
Yeah, it's the first ever New York City sober bar. It's called the Getaway. We should go there sometime. It's not as
brilliant.
It's not as weird as people might think, where they go, oh, it's just overpriced shit.
You know, everything's a sober bar for me.
Just a coffee house?
Yeah, I mean, can you get a hand job there?
Well, I was at the sober bar, and that day, I shit you not, I was getting really down on my life for some reason. I just was going through a thing where I'm like, I'm going to be 40, I'm single, I can't hold a relationship down, I don't know where my job's going, and I just had a whole bunch of money stolen from me. And like I can't say who it was, but like we were like hoping to get on like one of the biggest rock tours that took place last year. You could probably figure out who it was, but I just don't want to be the one that says it.
Sure.
But like, you know, a rock band that put out a record for the first time in a long time last year, that's huge. We were hoping to get on that tour and we didn't get it. And it just seemed, and then there was a European tour we didn't get. And we're just like, fuck it, let's just headline. And we're not a huge band. We somehow get on good tours, but we're not actually big. Like, we're like a musicians band. We're like musicians like us.
Right.
But we're not like, we'll play clubs in New York where technically the band is a New York band. And we can bring out 150 people headlining, which is, you know, depending on who you talk to, awesome. But then when we go to other places, you know, we might have 30 to 50, if we're lucky, 75 on a really good night. Right. And then like one day in Denver when we headlined, we had 130 people and we're like, whoa, we didn't know that we had fans here. So it's growing, but we're not at that level.
For sure.
Gotcha. And at this stage in the game, having been doing this for so long, I was like, I don't know how much, like, I don't know where this is going.
You could work like remotely, right?
I work remotely, but you know, I would never stop doing music, but I was just like, I don't know where everything's going. We're not getting rich off of it, you know. It's hard because I think part of the reason why I was bummed out about my life in general, I'm getting personal here, is like it isn't exactly easy to date either when you tour as much as I do. I'm gone like fucking.
Loving a music man ain't what it's supposed to be.
Would
Steve
your wife
Perry
stay
told
with
us.
you?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Would your wife stay with you if you were going on tour?
No, actually, I was gonna roadie for In This Moment. They offered me a gig for like $10 a day per diem or whatever when I first met my wife, and I was like, "Yeah, I don't know how she's gonna go for that." And like, yeah, you know, we were about to get married, but like, listen, I changed my career path. I'm gonna be bringing home $10 a day. Yeah, get the fuck out of here.
I mean, when you really say what it is, like it doesn't sound good. Like technically, I spend half the year traveling with a married couple by myself. That's what I do half of the year.
You're the third wheel.
Yeah. I mean, I don't mind that so much. It's a lot better than being with like 5 drunk guys that are all fucking doing weird shit. But
that is true too.
Amen. Much better, probably.
But so I'm sitting at the bar, and then I get a text message from my singer, and it says, "Hey, what do you do?" It said something like, "Hey, I know that you think you're cool hanging out with all your cool friends in Brooklyn, but are they spending their summer on tour with Korn and Faith No More?" And I lost my shit. I was like, "What?" And then it immediately sent the tour dates to me, and they're like, "Can't talk right now, but this just happened." And I'm like, "Holy shit!" And I was with my friend's wife, and I'm like, "I'm not supposed to talk about this, but something insane just happened." I feel like I won the lottery.
Yeah,
but
you
then,
did.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you mean feel?
Yeah.
But at the same time, then like the challenge of like, we're like, all right, we're gonna be on at 7:00. While people are getting their nachos and their popcorn and their sodas and beers.
Except Langan.
And yeah. It's like now the challenge is like, how do we fucking own it and get people to actually watch us and pay attention and not just sort of be the filler band. So, there's always like a thing.
Right.
Once you get there, there's another thing. So yeah, we'll see what happens.
And what are you're not doing, I guess the Helmet dates are different?
Helmet is on the part. We're doing 1 month, and with we're opening with
Scars on Broadway, right?
Scars on Broadway,
Yeah.
which is
Darren.
Darren from System of a Down.
Right.
Yeah, so like we're first of 4, and then we're doing the West Coast and like other parts of the country. I don't know if the logic was like we're already a New York band. Why do they need to play there more? I mean, it would have been nice to play Barclays.
I was going to say.
I was gutted when I saw that, to be honest with you. I was like, fuck.
Yeah.
But I also understand the logic to like play in places where people don't know us. And then Helmet and 68 take our place like right at the Barclays. Like, I know they're playing Barclays. I don't know if that's the first one, but that's
I think it's like a couple of dates, and then they play that.
Yeah.
I was looking up.
Because he was bummed.
Yeah, man.
He ain't going.
You want to come to Scranton, Pennsylvania?
I've done
shout
it
out
before.
to Dunder Mifflin.
I've trooped.
Yeah, that's the closest one to New York.
That's not that far.
Yeah.
Shout out to Dunder Mifflin.
If you do want to come to any of the shows in any of the other cities, I can definitely hook you up. So let me know.
Say no more, fam.
Yeah.
Stage potato.
Take a trip out with Sam.
I will not stand by the screen and look like gigantic.
Who the hell's the guy standing next to Chris?
Who's that old guy?
Yeah, man. So that's awesome. That's pretty much as good as a tour can get.
Yeah.
You know, like you're
Congratulations.
like growing up,
Thanks, guys.
Yeah. Growing up watching. We were talking.
It's a full circle moment for you, right?
But it is because of. I mean, when I heard that first Korn record too. I
said the same
sick.
thing.
Sure.
You know, I never thought that I would tour with that band when I was fucking watching Blind.
Yeah. You got to take those moments.
I said.
Wow.
So when they first came out, I really liked them because they were so different. You know, like they were like no other band that was out, and you heard Blind, and it was just like
it was a tough time for heavy music too, and they were flying the flag.
They were flying.
They were playing metal,
it was
and
coming
that
from a real place. You know, like that. I have a list that you have in front of you where I said that I hate the band Limp Bizkit, and I have to be careful when I say that stuff. But like, you know, lyrically, Jonathan Davis, at least on those first few records, he was like singing about shit that I could relate to. I mean, he was picked on as a kid, and there's that song "Faggot," like where I think I'm allowed to say that because of the context. But like,
we will cancel you.
It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out what he's talking about. Like, that's something I was called all my life when I was fucking trying to go get coffee, you know, in my town or like whatever. Like, it was just a bunch of fucking dickheads. So like, that's, you know, the early Korn stuff was angry music that I could relate to. You know,
and you know, Faith No More. I mean. I remember when I first got The Real Thing, I had the cassette. And, you know, we all loved, with Epic, right? That was the song?
That was like, the big one,
Yeah, and I'm like, okay, we all loved it. But, man, buying The Real Thing and listening to the cassette and From Out of Nowhere comes on.
Holy shit.
I'm like, oh, my God. I'm like, what the fuck is this? You know? And then,
it's
like,
such a great
pieces.
full album, you know? I played it
I mean, it just sounds like new wave music from the 80s mixed with, like, some kind of metal.
Sure.
It's like
total groove, funk, everything.
It was like it was like kind of like a nothing.
And then
shocking.
following it up, and then like Angel Dust to me is almost like the Beastie Boys Paul Boutique like afterwards because it sounded nothing like that, like the real thing, but it was so fucking.
And when Jim
different.
Martin left, did you leave too? Because I did, and then I went back and listened to those 2 records.
I left because I was, raving till dawn around that time. Feeling the effects to see.
You're like, do I want to do cocaine or listen to Phil Fillmore?
No, but it wasn't so much them. I just was listening to other stuff. So I went and revisited those albums later on.
Did you stay with them?
I left also, and I'll be honest with you, which is so bizarre, but I didn't, beyond Midlife Crisis, the rest of Angel Dust didn't grab me immediately.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
It took a while.
It's different.
Yeah, and then when I went back, I not only loved it, and it's one of my fucking top records of all time, but the rest of the catalog that I missed out on is up there with all of it. Like, I fucking missed out. I should have seen them when they were playing on those.
I caught them when they came back at the waterfront. But
oh my God, we should talk about that too.
I was at that show too.
Were you?
Yeah.
I feel like they played with Silver Sun Pickups, or maybe that was like another show.
No, it was like Neil Hamburger.
No, I don't remember that one. Yeah,
it was the waterfront in Williamsburg.
Yeah.
I did shrooms for the first time in my life at that show, and I was rolling fucking hard. And there were people that we all know. Chris from Sky Came Falling saw me, and he was like, "Are you all right, bro?" I was covered in grass on the ground, and I felt like an ant on the earth, and I felt like I could see myself with a magnifying glass.
Wow,
some good
shrooms. I was just a tiny fucking ant crawling on the grass at the show, and I was out of control.
Unless you
that was a magical night.
Unless you've taken shrooms, that doesn't make sense to you, but that makes sense to me because I've taken shrooms.
I got you,
and I know exactly what he's talking about. Like I'm just like,
oh my God, it was crazy.
Everything you're saying. I'm like, yeah, I feel that way. Like the last time I tripped out so hard, and I was at Great Adventures, and I tripped so hard that if I had to piss or shit, I know I would have just pissed or shit myself. So luckily, I didn't have to do either one of those things.
I did that once at Great Adventure too.
Oh.
Yeah, the worst part was the lines for the ride where you had to keep like facing the same people.
Yeah,
and like seeing the same
in
one,
like
like
the
this
bright
fucking
sunlight.
guy. I know, it's horrific, man.
Yeah,
that was like oh God.
Yeah, everyone's pretty ugly in that thing.
Oh,
horrible.
But King for a Day, Fool for a Lifetime, and Album of the Year. Like when I went back and listened to those records later in life, holy shit.
Yeah, man.
Fucking so good.
And they're just all good. They're equally as good.
Yeah.
They're not better than the other. They're just all fucking good.
So I asked you to pick some favorite songs from those bands.
Yes.
Do you have that list so we can go
through
it?
Let's go through the list.
Sure.
My list is in order, so let's go here. I go Faith No More, Midlife Crisis, number 1.
Okay.
I go with As the Worm Turns, number 2.
Hell yeah.
With the patent vocals, though. Number 3, Be Aggressive. Number 4, Evidence. And number 5, From Out of Nowhere.
Okay. Yeah.
That's
From Out of Nowhere is like...
It's a great tune.
It's just so good. It's such a great opening track, and it's such a great introduction to the patent era.
Oh, yeah. Oh, and we're going through all the bands?
Yeah.
Helmet, even though we're not playing with them, you asked me to make a Helmet list. I go number 1, In the Meantime.
Bullets.
Total drummer fucking answer, but I Know. That starts out with drums. Tick, Unsung, and Milk Toast. Those are my top 5. And then if I go with Korn, I go Blind, number 1. I just kind of like the hits when it comes to Korn.
Sure.
I didn't do deep dives, but Falling Away From Me, number 2. Got to Life, number 3. Freak on a Leash, number 4. And what was the other? Shoots and Ladders, number 5.
Okay.
Yeah.
All solid.
Yeah. So let's see. You also did something on Facebook that I wanted to bring up because I think it's a lot of fun. I have your answers here.
Okay.
I don't know if you remember them. So I guess the circulation has been bands I love, but there was also like a movies one as well.
Yeah.
So do you want me to read your list?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Okay. So band, because we did the same thing. So
yes.
we'll read our list too. Band I hate, you named Limp Bizkit.
I can't. I never liked it. I do have to be careful with what I say, but like I've never done work with those guys, and I don't know if I ever
You never will now.
Yeah, probably not. Yeah.
Fred Durst's a big fan.
You'd be surprised.
Fred Durst's a big Red River fan.
Big listener.
You'd be surprised though, because when I fucking post these, there are people that listen to this that I do business with.
Are you kidding me? There's like there's like 6 degrees like for sure, like somebody is like in some taco joint hanging out with Fred Durst being like, you know this guy?
Yeah. It wouldn't be far-fetched for like someone at whatever label Limp Bizkit is on or the booking agency after I went and reposted this on Facebook for them to hear this. So, but whatever. I said it.
Yeah. All right. That's fine. So band I think is overrated. Boy, do I agree. Fish.
Yep. Every fucking asshole that fucked with me growing up, like it wasn't fucking people that were like tough hip hop dudes or ghetto dudes. It was fucking white Christian conservative country club dickheads that loved Fish, Grateful Dead, and Dave Matthews Band, and they can all die.
Dave Matthews Band's definitely
the worst.
Yeah,
that was a close one. I was
play
gonna
fucking
put down.
hacky sack and fucking.
I don't get it,
shove
man.
it up your ass.
All right, continuing with Chris's list. Band I think is underappreciated. You said Ulver?
Ulver is
They're so
awesome
good.
fucking, Ulver is this band that started out black metal, and they've evolved into something that's more like a Depeche Mode kind of vibe, and they had to cancel.
Completely unique, like album to album.
Unbelievable.
Like, yeah.
I recommend that everyone listens to the latest album, but they had to cancel their U.S. tour due to lack of ticket sales, and it was disappointing.
You know, a lot of times that's been happening now just because, it's a touring world, and you know, the last 5 years, like everyone's on tour. So eventually some people are going to be like, well, who am I going to go see? It's like record sales just, they don't sell. Everything's a stream, which is cool. I love me some Spotify, but man, it's sad that some of these tours just don't have the support because we can't be everywhere. Band I love, Bad Brains.
Yeah, favorite band of all time. Yeah. I have the lightning bolt tattooed on me. The first time I ever heard them, never heard anyone sing like that. And musically, best hardcore band to ever exist. And so many things, including Faith No More, wouldn't exist if it wasn't for that.
Big time.
Did you listen to the HR? If I Ruled the World?
I did. Unbelievable. And you were sitting in the car with them, which is crazy.
We just had him like, me and George are like, remember that time HR sat in your back seat and we talked to him?
That's fucking sick.
Yeah.
And we walked him to the car too. Band I could listen to over and over again, Quicksand.
Yeah, even the new stuff. I just like it's just in the DNA. I mean, any album, any fucking record.
Do you prefer, if you were going to pick one, Manic or Slip?
I'd go Slip.
Me too.
Yeah, Slip is just, that's the one.
That's the one.
They're all great.
Yeah,
yeah,
for sure. But I mean, like, Slip is just, when I first heard Dine Alone, I was just like, I don't even know what's going on. Yeah. I don't know what's going on with this guitar, but it's fucking amazing. And the thing is like Walter is such a Walter Schreifels is almost like our generation's Paul McCartney. I think. Yeah, I think he's just an amazing songwriter.
They called him the hardcore David Bowie on the Danny Diablo podcast recently.
Yes, they did.
It was when Gavin was on too. They called him the David Bowie.
I listened to that one. That was funny. Shout out to Danny D. He was a fun podcast guest. Band that made me fall in love with music. Man, North Shore, Long Island as fuck right here. Billy Joel.
Yes.
It's a rite of passage.
Uptown Girl.
Yeah.
Uptown Girl. It was on a 7-inch too, a single.
So for me, one of the first cassettes I ever bought was Stormfront.
Okay.
That's a good record.
So 1989, I remember I was in Flushing. I went, me and my mom were going to go see Christmas Vacation, so I guess it was Christmas, and I bought Bad English's first album on cassette. And shout out to John Waite.
Cracks me up. Whenever you mentioned Bad English, Neil Sean was in that band.
When I See
him,
You
right?
Smile, like that's a great song.
That is a good song.
Yeah, but yeah, Billy Joel Stormfront was the other one. Downeaster Alexa.
Yes, what a
you work
great
with
song.
the rod and the reel.
Band that changed my life for Chris, Nirvana.
Oh yeah. I mean, I was a glam metal kid. I was into Skid Row and Poison and all that stuff, and then when I heard that, it flipped my world. And then I saw a guy wearing a Bad Brains shirt in the Smells Like Teen Spirit video. I bought that. I bought every band they recommended checking out, and that was everything from Black Flag
Pixies.
to Sonic Youth to the Pixies. I knew who the Pixies were before that, but yeah, you know what I mean. Like it was just like
it was a game
and then
changer.
there was social, political elements of that they were kind of opening up for me.
You hear the statement too all the time, like when people saw that video for the first time. But I do remember when they debuted that video on MTV, and it everybody says it, but something you felt like you were watching things.
The world was
were changing right before your eyes in this 3-minute clip.
It's like before when I watched the news and they were talking about the coronavirus. Guilty pleasure, Green Day.
I like Green Day. I call it a guilty pleasure. I don't know why I would call it that, but it's just
kind of terrible.
There's something there is something corny about it, but like I always liked Green Day.
It was the first show I ever went to.
I probably went to the same show. It was Nassau Coliseum.
No.
Okay. I went to Dookie, Nassau Coliseum.
Really? Maybe I went before Dookie because they played Irving.
Yeah, because they would have been smaller at that point.
I saw them before Dookie when I was going to college. That was the last time.
Yeah.
Your
punk rock era.
For a minute.
It's just kind of like whatever. Like I like they have.
They
good
write
songs.
hook songs,
hey, listen,
man.
Great songs.
Big fat hooks.
Yeah. Band I should have seen by now, Oasis.
Love Oasis. I'm a huge Oasis
Me
fan.
too.
And I never saw them. I saw Noel Gallagher.
Me too.
No, I saw Liam Gallagher, and he played some Oasis songs at Terminal 5.
BDI or just
No.
solo? Oh, okay.
The solo stuff.
Because his solo stuff is fantastic.
Which is better than BDI. Because when BDI came out and then Noel put out his first solo record with the Flying Birds.
I love that shit.
That's a great record.
So
I have to revisit it, but I think Liam's shit fucking destroys Noel's stuff.
The last two Noel records are not as good.
The debut, Noel, the High Flying Birds, I was way about.
Yeah. So okay, we did this list too. So I'm gonna do mine. A band that I hate, Grateful Dead.
Nice.
Yeah.
So here's the reason why. My band is called Playing Dead, and we share a band name with Grateful Dead tribute band. And if you look at our Spotify, sometimes it gets mixed up, and their dates appear. Like I hate them. Fuck you. Stop.
You hate them and people joking on the thread about you being. I could tell.
Yeah, it gets under my skin.
Yeah.
Especially since like I meant it as like a horror reference. I was just like playing.
Yeah,
right.
I get what you meant.
More horror,
huh? Band that I think is overrated, the Sex Pistols.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I think the like the way they're remembered, they were a band that put out one good record, and it was like okay, but they get way too much credit for my liking.
This also points out that punk started in Queens.
Yeah,
with the Ramones.
Yeah, for sure.
They came fucking later.
No question.
The Misfits and the Ramones are the two best American punk bands. So for my list, a band that was underappreciated, I go with the Von Bondies. So the Von Bondies have 3 records. Everyone remembers Come On, Come On. That's about it. But man, they're up there with like Superdrag. They're just a really good power pop band, and I'm a big melody guy.
Yeah, I love that you're always talking about that. You're the reason why I rediscovered Superdrag, because I used to like them, but I hadn't listened to them, and you were talking about them one day, and I just went back and checked it out again.
Great, right?
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
Yeah. So Keith Moore he made me a whole bunch of Superdrag CDs because I remember the first record, but man, he really just started the fire again. Band that I love, Alkaline Trio. Love that band. Great harmonies, 3-piece. Great bass lines, 2 different songwriters. Man, I don't know. I could listen to any one of those records.
What do you think about Blink-182 with Matt Skiba?
What do I think? I hate it.
Okay.
I hate it so much. Like I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. I love that Dan gets to play with Scotty in now,
right.
And the singer of what's the Buffalo band?
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
Every time I die.
Yeah, the damn things.
Yeah. So I think that's pretty cool. But yeah, I mean, good for Matt. I don't understand it. I tried listening to those records, and I can't. They're so overproduced that I can't make out who's singing what. It's just not for me. Band that I could listen to again and again, Queens of the Stone Age.
Damn, that's a good one. I can't believe I didn't think about that.
I can't believe I didn't think of Quicksand.
Yeah, that's a better answer, actually.
But
there's so many good ansers for these questions.
Bigger
we were agonizing over the car, like, what the fuck? We take it so seriously.
We do. Bigger,
no, it's good. I love it.
Bigger discography. I miss Nick Oliveri. I think Nick Oliveri was such a big part of that band.
Mondo Generator put out 2 records this year, right?
Oh, I didn't know.
Yeah.
But the last Mondo Generated record is amazing. Mm-hmm. That guy's a fucking lunatic. I love it.
I got a story about him, but I don't think we have time.
Oh, boy.
I met him once, and we almost did drugs together. And Artie Shepherd, shout out to Artie, was like, "Dude, like you don't want to hang out with that dude." This is in Texas at some show. I saw him at a down show, and I just went up to him, and he was cool.
What's up,
and
dude?
We talked about how we both wanted to score some drugs together. And we used to talk in the bathroom, and I got his phone number, and Artie basically was like, "He's not going to remember you. That guy's also a lunatic. I think he just like got into a almost shootout
with the SWAT
cops.
team."
Yeah, and 2 days later, he texted me. He was like, "Hey, what are you doing today?" and he met up with us and came and saw us play.
Yes,
but I haven't talked to him since. So, yeah, it's kind of funny.
That's awesome. But yeah, Queens of the Stone, like just the discography, and I love that Josh was brave enough to get Mark Ronson, who is a fucking master, to produce their last record. But I think like Clockwise was a masterpiece.
Clockwork, like clock.
I like Clockwise.
Shout out to
the George. Shout out to General George. But yeah, like Clockwork was like their man. That was the best record since Songs for the Deaf.
Unbelievable.
Right?
Yep, I agree.
Band that made me fall in love with music. Really hard to remember, but I went with Def Leppard. When I was 8 or 9, I bought Hysteria. And I was also into like the glam, the Poison and all that other shit. But Def Leppard just had those songs, and I don't know, they were just great. I love that power ballad shit. Band that changed my life, also Nirvana. I think it was just the age. I was like 12 or 13. I hear, like I said, I was such a huge Metallica fan that I knew that I couldn't play like that. But when I heard Nirvana, I just, like, everyone that I knew after hearing Nirvana bought a guitar, and they were playing these songs. They're like, oh, this is, I don't know, such a great gateway.
Absolutely.
You could never take that away from that band.
No.
And now, in retrospect, the record that I listen to the most is Incesticide, because I think it's
shit.
Raw. It's raw. It's so fucking good. And band that surprised you. Was that really on? I don't remember him having that.
Oh, I had Billie Eilish.
Oh, you had Billie Eilish.
Oh, yes.
I
actually really like Billie Eilish,
yes.
and I didn't understand it at first, but her latest single is unbelievable.
So she was on the Stern Show. I'm not too sold on her just yet, but I like that she's different. I like that she's a young kid giving other young kids like a different flavor.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's why I loved that Lorde record when it came out. She was also like 17. I heard Royals. I was like, this is cool. I'm like, no way this record's going to be great. Beginning to end, the first Lorde record, amazing. Then she put out the second record. I think she did with Jack Antonoff from Bleachers. Wasn't as good, but still.
I haven't heard anything about her in forever. Yeah.
So guilty pleasure the band that surprised me for me was the Replacements, because growing up I'd always hear the name. I knew Paul Westerberg, and then when I went back to the catalog, I couldn't believe that this was an American rock band that was so fucking good.
Right.
Like, I listened to the catalog and I'm like, how does this band have so many albums that are so good and they're not really that big?
Right.
So that was pretty surprising. And the last two, let's see, guilty pleasure, Kings of Leon for me.
Oh, no. No.
Okay.
Get
so
out.
I got a good guilty pleasure.
Oh.
And band that I should have seen live by now, The Killers. And they just announced a show at MSG, October 1st, October 2nd, through Live Nation.
Are you going?
With Johnny Marr. I mean, if we're not all dead.
Johnny Marr.
Johnny Marr's opening.
Ooh.
So, you want to read your list?
Sure. Band I hate, Jimmy Buffett.
Yes.
Oh, that's pretty bad.
I mean, like, it gets me angry almost. Everything it represents.
Well, because every time they play Jones Beach, it's just
the people that go there, this like, just rampant alcoholism, fucking, that don't even really like music.
They don't even.
But they're just
like
hanging out to dress like shitheads and fucking.
Oh, man.
I don't know.
It's just an outlet for fucking bad behavior.
It's awful. It's awful. Nobody there gives a damn about music.
It's an outlet for bad behavior from people who probably look down at people that have bad behavior.
It's 5 o'clock somewhere,
so
bumper stickers. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know,
terrible.
No shirt, no shoes, no problem.
I mean,
or something.
that is the same thing for Fish and Grateful Dead too.
Yeah, they have that following that couples with the music's bad enough, but
listen, it's that's what it is. So like the parents of every Fish fan are all Jimmy Buffett fans.
Yeah, it's horrific. It's it's horrific. Band I think is overrated. U2 for me.
Brutal. How dare you?
I fucked with a couple of songs, the early shit, like October and Unforgettable Fire. There's a couple of songs and stuff, but that I never wasn't too big of a fan of and stuff. And they just went on and on, and I was just like, they just, I don't know. I just thought they were kind of like
because they're Irish?
Mediocre. Totally. I fucking hate Irish.
Are you Irish?
Yes. Yeah.
The early stuff was great, but then they turned into the worst band ever.
Well,
yeah, like I just don't like. There's some bands that have been playing forever, like the Stones and shit and stuff like that, and like they get this thing because they've been around forever. But like, yeah, they're not that fucking good, you know.
The Stones?
No, U2.
Oh, U2. Okay, yeah.
Just because they've been around forever, they're not on that upper crust of rock, Mount Rushmore. You know what I'm saying? But I have that on there. Band that's underappreciated. They're not like quite.
Stick your head in there.
Oh, okay. I ended up. I changed this answer twice. First, I had Deep Purple only because while they're not underappreciated, when everyone talks about Sabbath, Zeppelin, stuff like that, Purple I think is underestimated behind how influential they were to hard rock and stuff. A little more of that, but I switched that because they're not that underrated.
Who's that?
Deep Purple.
Oh yeah,
and
like they should be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Easy. I've switched it to Sisters of Mercy though, because they're
that's a good one.
Yeah, just they only made like three records, but they're also different. They get labeled as goth rock, but there's so much more than that. So many more elements. And Floodland's my favorite album ever. But band I love, Enslaved.
Nice.
They're black metal band, but very melodic. I made you listen to a song once.
You did.
You liked it. You know, that's how I like my black metal, with a little bit of melody in there and shit. Not just raw, but show me you can play too. You know what I mean? So I love them.
I like my black metal.
Yeah, and they've gone the gamut. Band I can listen to again and again. Misfits.
Nice. That's a good one.
I'll never get sick of that shit. I never have. I never will. I know every lyric, everything about it. I'll never get sick of that.
Were you were at the last at MSG?
Killed it.
Yeah.
So much fun.
Everyone
right?
I spoke to that went to the other one said it was like fucking night. That was the best one.
Night and day.
That they ever did from everyone I spoke to. And I saw another one after that, and it was like it's the sound is the
You went to
problem.
the Philly one?
Yeah, and they were great, but like they were whoever was doing the sound at MSG figured out how to work around their
man.
You know.
It sounded so good, and there was just that vibe in the place that we all knew
magic.
we were having a special moment all together.
It was fucking great.
Yeah,
I mean, come on, like
I'm getting goosebumps now, man, just thinking about it.
It was fucking magic.
Fucking skanking during Rancid. Rancid gave a shout out to the entire DMS crew.
Yeah,
that was so crazy.
Fucking
Yeah,
AF on the house monitors.
Yeah, that was special. That was special. Band that made me fall in love with music, Van Halen.
Yeah.
My fifth grade teacher, I've told this story before. She had fucking 2 records on she had Van Halen records, and during snack time, she would play it for us. And I was just like smitten. Like I wanted to be David Lee Roth, and I wanted to play with it like Eddie.
Yeah.
Neither one worked out. Band that changed my life, the Ramones.
Nice.
Only because I wanted to play in bands and stuff. I loved George Lynch and Malmsteen, all this shit. Knew I couldn't do that, but I heard this band that was telling me,
I could do that.
You know what? Like, it's just about the song, and it doesn't have to be fucking really complex or whatever. And it's fucking amazing, you know? And it changed my approach. And so I got that. Surprise Me. This is going back, like, not now, but like when I was younger, and I was primarily in the metal, The Cure. Only because I wasn't really heading that path to listen to them, and somebody pulled me aside, like, you know, a Miyagi moment, like we've said before, but like
that's all Christian.
You know, these guys are pretty dark. Check this out. You know what I mean? And played me Depeche Mode and The Cure and stuff on like that, and it just broadened my mind. That I'm like, I never thought I'd listen to this before, and it just changed my whole trajectory. You know, to widen my palette.
And the one thing about their songwriting, I've always said that the Cure have the most patient songwriting.
Well, it's so diverse too. They have like fucking songs that are like,
completely diverse, but like they'll rock a jam for 3 minutes before Robert Smith even sings.
Yeah.
And then they'll just keep it going.
They set the table.
And then they'll add like a little sprinkle lead.
Sure.
And I'm like, yo, you know how much like confidence you gotta have that you're gonna fucking throw in like 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, and then it's like, I guess I'll sing.
So unique.
There's such
man.
an exception to the rule in that sense that they can do that, but it's never been a problem. Like they're allowed to. There's a great meme. It's a picture of them that I just saw last week, and it says, if you've never heard this if you've never been a fan of this band, congratulations, because you don't know anything about depression.
It's true, man. Yeah. Did you play on you guys covered Faith, right?
Yeah, we did. That's not me though.
That's a great cover.
Thanks.
Yeah,
Thanks. I love that one.
Really good.
Yeah.
Yes. So, guilty pleasure. I wasn't sure about this one because, again, like you were saying, I don't feel guilty about it. I don't feel guilty about anything I listen to. But I went with D. Antwoord.
Okay.
Okay.
I was debating about Nugent too because I still fuck with some Nugent, even though
that's more of a guilty pleasure.
You know what I mean? Like Stranglehold is some bad. That shit is badass. I don't like him personally,
Dude, he was
but
good, man. He is good.
Yeah, great performer.
I was listening to him the other day.
And he's an amazing guitar player. Yeah. Amazing.
Yeah.
Sick loincloth.
Sick loincloth. When you shoot the arrow into this guitar, it's fucking great. Should have seen by now. Originally, I put Massive Attack, but they don't play that often, even though they just played Radio City, or maybe we're about to, or I don't know. But Guns N' Roses, I never saw a GNR in any shape or form, any
Coming
era.
Back.
I should go.
They're coming back with, just like Korn and Faith No More are, I mean, it's kind of like an odd pairing somewhat. I think Guns N' Roses and Smashing Pumpkins are, a very different fan base, I think.
Yeah, yes and no. But also it's just all classic rock now.
It would have been an odder, I feel the same way. Like, it would have been an odder tour if it happened in their heyday.
Exactly.
Like, what the fuck? But
now
today,
Well, I'm very jaded, and I think that the Guns N' Roses fans will probably hate
Sam's
the Pumpkins.
expecting big brawls between Corgan, Axl, Corgan.
Oh, those two should never be in the same room together. Otherwise, the tour's
I'd like
over.
to be a fly on the wall.
We don't know that. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but there's fucking shit on classic rock radio. We don't necessarily know. At the time, they might have not had anything to do with each other. If there was a Foghat Fleetwood Mac Journey tour, we'd be like, oh, that's cool. Makes sense. But if you were around back then, they would have been like, this is crazy. Nothing like that would have ever happened.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. But I mean, so
Axl won't take Billy Corgan on his helicopter.
I want to see a collab. I could see that happening.
You think? Do you think there'll be a jam at the end? What song would you like to see Smashing Pumpkin do? Billy and
I wouldn't want to see that at all, but I could see that happening because Billy Corgan brought out people to collaborate with them on their last tour. It was like the guy from Sugar Ray, the guy that was fucking
he's always
Courtney
available.
Love, Chino,
he's always available. Okay, cool, man. So I mean, that's basically it. Like I think we touched on a lot of shit. And I don't know. I guess that's basically.
We're very thorough. How much time did we give him?
We're kind of at the hour and 40.
Really?
Yeah,
that's a lot.
40.
Yeah, the hour and 40. But yeah, I mean, I think I asked everything I wanted to ask. Anything?
You said it all.
I said it all.
We really gave it to him on this one.
We did.
That's great.
Pants off, no condom.
No. Yeah.
The way the Lord wanted it. But thank you for inviting us over.
You.
Thank you for talking and shooting the shit with us, because this is what we love to do. And this will be a fun episode.
Anytime, man.
This is what I love to do. Thanks for doing this. These guys are great guests. They came to Bed-Stuy. They didn't want anything. I offered them drinks. I offered them fucking.
They took your coffee.
Shit. They took some coffee. Yeah. No, thanks for having me. Thanks for driving out here.
100%, man.
Yeah.
I'll see you in Scranton.
Yeah. Let's talk more shop soon.
Word.